Hello, I'm an old fart, and I have a guilty pleasure, which is I like knives. I'm not an expert or an official representative of anybody or anything. I just like knives. I have a collection of small folding pocket knives, and for the last year or so, during the COVID shut-in, you've been joining me every week for a little tour through my collection. Thanks for the company. Today, we're going to have a look at this pretty little knife. This is a Esprit by Knives, a Ray Laconico design. I think a very attractive looking knife with a wonderful blade and only a few minor complaints, and we'll talk about all of that. So I have several Wees. I assume that's their name is pronounced Wee and not W-E. I don't actually know that. Anyway, I have several Wees, and I've always been impressed with the really high-end manufacturing and quality. I have some Wee knives where I don't really like the design, but I don't have any Wee knives where I would complain about the build quality. They're really nice. I also have several Ray Laconico knives. I like his designs very much. They tend to be right in line with what I like. Simple lines, beautiful blades. So when I came across this one, a Ray Laconico design made by Wee, and had an opportunity to get one at a used bargain trade in really good shape, I jumped at it. And so, in a little more detail formally, so this is a Knives Esprit. This is the titanium model, and it's what they call orange peel titanium, which means it has a slight texture. We'll come back to that. It is a thumb stud operated knife, as you can see. There's the thumb stud. It also has a front flipper. This weird rectangular corner here can be used, as you can see, as a front flipper. I never do that. I don't really like it. We'll come back to that. And it's a traditional frame lock knife, running on caged bearings, very smooth, really nice mechanism. The size, it's 189 millimeters when it's open. And so what's that compare to? Well, most important comparison is a pocket calculator, and it's about just over one pocket calculators in length. Call it 1.02, something like that. Comparing it to some knives, because yeah, I know people do. Well, my standard comparison is usually the mini griptilian. As you can see, it's quite a bit larger than the mini griptilian. I usually call this kind of the reference mid-size knife. So this is bigger than that. So is it a big knife? Well, not really. It's quite a bit smaller than a large Sebenza, which is a big knife. So it's somewhere in between. It's a small big knife or a big small knife. It happens to be exactly the same size, or within a millimeter or so, of the Benchmade bug out. So a larger, medium-sized knife. Now, on the other hand, it's heavier than some of those at 98 grams, so that's about 10 grams more than the mini griptilian. Now, it's bigger, a big surprise. That's much less than the large Sebenza's 133 grams, I think. So it's about the same as a Monterey Bay Mini Old Guard, which is also a Ray Laconico design. So mid-weight knife. The blade is beautiful. It's 20 CV steel, which is a steel I like very much. 3¼ inches long for those of you who live in the United States, and for much of the world, that matters because it's over that magic 3-inch mark. And it is a beautiful drop point blade and very typical of Ray's designs. The body is solid titanium. It has a very slight texture to it. Now the manufacturer calls it orange peel, indicating that it's got a very slight pebbly texture to it. I don't think orange peel is a very good name because it's much finer textured than any orange I've ever seen. But in any case, it's not polished smooth. It has a slight texture, and that's good. I should have mentioned this in the blade, but there is a good-sized finger choil there as well. Quite an attractive clip. The clip is sheet titanium bent to shape. It's a deep carry clip, as you can see, and I like deep carry clips. And it sits, can I get that to where you can see it? It sits in a milled recess, which is just kind of nice and elegant looking and very sturdy looking. One side only, which is good. To make this reversible, there'd have to be a milled recess on this side, and I like that there isn't. I like that the presentation side is very clean and pretty. You'd think looking at it that there isn't a lanyard hole, but in fact there is. There's a lanyard pin here. The back spacer stops short, and so there's a gap through there with a pin in it, and a lanyard can go through there very nicely. I think that's very good. If I wanted a lanyard on it, that would be a good position, and that possibility is offered without the ugliness of a hole through the body, so I like that very much. So for my left-handed friends, is it ambidextrous? Yeah, I'd have to say no. It is double stud, but there's very little clearance on this side, and if you are trying to press your meat into there, of course you're actuating the lock bar. So without a sizable clearance milled there, it's very difficult to open left-handed. One-sided clip, and of course a frame lock is also one-sided only. So I would say no, it's not trying to be ambidextrous and very much isn't. Manufactured in China, Knives is a Chinese manufacturer, high-end American designer, Ray Laconico, out of California. I believe he's in Monterey, if I'm not mistaken. So let's do some likes and dislikes. I like a lot about this knife. I really like the appearance. I like the scale finish. I think that just, that kind of satin look titanium is attractive. It won't snail trail as much as smooth titanium, although I'm sure it will eventually. As I said, I got this used, and there aren't any noticeable snail trails on it now, so either it was really pampered or it's going to be quite resistant to that. I like the very clean, simple presentation side. The WE logo is attractive. I love the blade shape. Beautiful, smooth, Ray Laconico typical drop point blade. It's clearly part of Ray's design family. I don't have another of his knives handy here, but if I did, I'd pull out like a Monterey Bay Old Guard or a Kaiser Yorkie, and you see the same kind of design, design intent, design mystique. I don't know what word I'm looking for there. Anyway, they have a flavor, and I like that. Like the mechanism, it is smooth. Oh my God. It just opens beautifully, easily. You can open it slowly. It certainly is flickable, so you can open it fast. You get a very satisfying and secure clunk, actually on the loud side when you flick it open. And there's a hardened, I don't know if you can see it in there, probably not, but you can see the screw for it. So there is a hardened insert for the lock bar, which I think is always good practice. Classy materials, titanium and 20 CD steel. It is a very comfortable knife to hold. That slight texture in the titanium makes it grippy, which is nice, but not uncomfortable. When I'm holding it, maybe I'm just lucky with the shape of my hand, but I can't feel the clip at all. The bent out part of the clip there just happens to correspond to the bent out meaty part of my hand here, so it just sits in there perfectly, and the clip is just not part of the experience. You can choke up onto the choil. There's nice jimping on the back. It's just a really comfortable knife to hold and cut with. So like a lot about it. A couple of things I don't like. The biggest one first, I kind of mentioned this before. It is a dual opening knife. You can open it with thumb studs, but it's also a front flipper. That's why there's this weird shoulder here. And I don't like that. I don't really like front flippers, and I don't like this one. I will never open the knife that way. I had some bad luck with a front flipper some time ago. Cut myself a couple of times and have come to say, that's really not for me. So I'm never going to use that front flipper. I mean, the thumb stud's right here, and it works really well. I just don't know why I need this option. And having that option means I've got this shoulder sticking out here, and I think it's ugly. Just how much nicer that would look if it was just shaped a little bit more to follow the contours of the end of the body. That is ugly. Now, I know that if that wasn't there, then when the knife was open, I guess that would still work. There wouldn't be quite as much room for jimping, but there wouldn't. I was thinking there would be a gap, but there wouldn't. That contour would just fall into the body. So I think this knife could omit that shoulder and be cleaner there, and it wouldn't affect its open appearance or performance. And the thumb studs work so well that I consider that a negative, to have that flip option by having such an ugly, not curved, kind of out of design context shoulder sitting there. Blech. Boy, did I make a lot out of that little thing. But what the hell? I'm a collector. Another complaint, the pocket clip is just a little bit too strong. I imagine it'll loosen up with time. It's not especially hard to get into my pocket, but like, look how strong that is. I'm actually having trouble moving it away from the body with my fingertip there. Not that hard to get into my pocket, but quite hard to get out. Usually hangs up on the seam at the edge of the pocket, and I have to really haul on it, or usually what I have to do is reach down into my pocket and get my fingers under the knife to pull it out like that. So I'd like it to be just, I guess that's good, right? It's very secure, but I'd like it to be a little easier to get out of my pocket. And finally, standard problem with frame locks, of course, is start closing, my thumb is in harm's way. The first thing that's going to make contact is the live corner of the blade with the meat of my thumb. Flippers, and I said I don't like flippers, but side flippers that have a tab. The tab usually ends up here, and it acts as a thumb guard, so it stops you from cutting yourself. Frame locks, depends on the shape of the blade, but there's always that possibility of cutting yourself when you're removing your thumb from the neighborhood. So I just have to be a little careful when I'm doing that. Anyway, minor complaints, I hope. Let's go through my internationally unknown rating system, and you'll see that it hasn't suffered very much. So first, we'll do the NTGK rating, which is for non-threatening gentleman's knife, which is the thing I say I collect. And we'll do non-threatening first, and then gentleman's knife. So for non-threatening, the good is the simple shape, okay? Just pretty looking knife. There's no zombie barbs on it, no tactical edges, no skulls on the clip, for God's sake. So it's not an aggressive looking knife. Next, very important to be non-threatening, you can open it slowly, which is good. If you flick a knife open fast in front of nervous people, they go, switchblade, and so you can open this slowly, and in fact, in front of very nervous people, or people you really don't know, you can open it two hands. I've handed this knife to somebody who wanted to borrow a knife, and they didn't even know any better. They just automatically held it like this, put their fingers on that, and opened it two-handed. There was nothing threatening about it, and so that's fantastic. Now the bad for non-threatening is it is just a little bit large, 3¼ inch blade. It's long-ish. A truly non-threatening pocket knife would be substantially smaller. And that's really a trade-off. This is a really useful size, so I'll forgive it, but that is a negative about being non-threatening. The fact that you can open it fast is potentially threatening, so don't do that. And that front flipper, I don't know why it's there, but I would certainly never front flip this in front of somebody. First of all, I'm going to hold it so I don't cut myself. That fast front flip that looks like a switchblade, and second, when I fumble it and cut myself and am bleeding all over the conference room table, that probably weakens the argument that this is not threatening as well. So I'm going to give it an A overall as a non-threatening. Now, how about gentleman's knife? For gentleman's knife, the good news is the premium materials, titanium, 20 CV steel, the really elegant look. It's just pretty, gentle curves that follow the shape right through into the blade. Understated, particularly like the understated writing. You notice there is nothing on the blade, completely clean. There's only writing in it on two places that I can find. One is Ray's name on the spine of the blade. It's kind of a standard thing of his. And the second is the WE logo. And you might not even know that that was the word WE unless you knew it was a WE knife. So understated writing, which I think is nice on a gentleman's knife. And the fact that it's deep carry, so it sits well down in your pocket. It's not, obtrusive, sticking out of your pocket. That's a good thing too. The part of the clip that is out of your pocket is this simple, nice satin finished titanium. So it's not scary looking or ostentatious sitting in your pocket like all that. The bad as a gentleman's knife is the overstrong clip means you do have to struggle to get it in and out of your pocket, and it's a little heavy. So it does weigh down the lines of your dress pants when it's sitting in your pocket. Anyway, I'd call it an A, not an A+, as a gentleman's knife. And so all told, as an NTGK, as a non-threatening gentleman's knife, I'm going to give it an A, because it's really very nice. Now, how about the KN rating, which is what would my knife nerd friends think of this? Mainly good. My knife nerd friends generally like WE knives because they have a good reputation, well made. The fact that there is a designer at all, and that the designer is Ray Laconico, of course, counts for it. He's a really good reputation. Most of my knife nerd friends really like his work. 20 CD steel, fantastic steel. Everybody likes that. Great mechanism. I had a knife nerd friend recently kind of, picked it up, tried it, flicked it open, and went, whoa, at that nice pop, that beautiful, easy to actuate flip with that really satisfying clunk. He really liked that, so do I. Great blade shape, great comfort for cutting with, attractive scales. Those are all great things. My knife nerd friends admire all of that. Some of my knife nerd friends agree with me that this corner of the front flipper thing here is ugly, and for the ones who don't agree with that, well, I don't want them as my friends anymore. So we'll call that as a con. And as a result, I'm just going to give it an A for knife nerd rating. And finally, my CMR, cut myself rating. Well, my general rule is if I haven't cut myself, it's an A. And I haven't cut myself, so it's an A. Except I think I'm going to lower that to an A- because of that damn front flipper. Sooner or later, I or somebody else, I'm going to cut myself by trying to make that front flip work. So I'm going to call it an A-. So anyway, there we are with my knife ratings. And that brings us to the end. This is a great mid-sized everyday carry knife. A little on the large end of the mid-sized range. Very useful shape. It leans toward the elegant looking end of the scale, which is nice. I would love it. It would be an A+ across the board and one of my favorite knives if it wasn't for that damn ugly front flipper shoulder. But as it is, with the Laconico design and the great action and the great steel, I do really still like it a lot. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.